Imagine this. You're in your mid-50s and you got most of the boxes checked off. You raised a family, got the kids on a self-sufficient path. You even might have got your house paid off or nearly paid off. Now you're looking in the mirror and say, can I retire within the next 10 years? So think about this. You don't need to panic. We're going to talk about 10 ideas and tips to get you through the next decade so you can retire confidently.
We got 10 tips to, helping you retire early or at 65 without changing your lifestyle and panicking and all that. So we're going to hit the first 5 this week, and we're going to wrap up with the second 5 next week.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, man. Let's if you're in your mid-50s and you got a lot of boxes checked off and, family set, kids are almost in college, maybe they're out of the house, who knows, right? And a lot of debt is being paid off or nearly paid off, and you're like, man, now it might be time to aggressively save. How do we do some of this stuff?
Yeah,
that's how I look at it. So like you said, we're going to talk about 5 today. We're going to talk about 5 next week. We'll break this into an A-B kind of show, part 1, part 2. But number 1, first and foremost, I can't stress this one enough. This is actually a very important one. Get your numbers right. Let's get real about your numbers. And what I'm talking about is your budget.
Yep.
I always tell people this in the beginning of the planning process. Garbage in, garbage out. If we cannot figure out your budget, it's worthless. It's not an accurate plan.
Yep.
And we can help figure out, I'd start identifying, I guess what you would call the must-haves, the nice-to-haves, do I really need that kind of thing? And I also I've done this with several clients. There's mystery expenses that pop up. You're like, man, I've been charged this $30. I never realized it. I never seen it. It was buried in some kind of credit card or something. These subscriptions, I'm probably notorious that for my phone, my iPhone, I'm probably paying for stuff. I'm like, why am I keep on getting charged $3 every month? Yep. I can't find it. Right. Or even think about, things that are maybe a luxury that you can maybe back off or eliminate. So I'll use one example is we've talked about this a couple times. I'm a big fan of making my own coffee in the morning. Mm-hmm. Because if you go to Dunkin', you're probably in it for $3 to $5.
Oh yeah.
And that's just coffee, mm-hmm. right? You didn't even get a snack yet.
Yeah. Hard to turn down donuts when you're in the Dunkin' Donut line.
I know.
I'm being honest. Those munchkins.
I can talk about. I like Dunkin's. Their lineup. They do a good job. Yep. Their avocado toast is actually pretty good. Anyway, I'm actually now experimenting making cold brew at home. Mm-hmm. But again, it's like 50 cents plus or minus a cup, right, where it's $3 every time I would go mm-hmm. to go buy it at the store. And I know it's an experience. I know it's makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside, but we compound that. I haven't done the math, but 5 times 3 times 50, right? What is that? 50, that's $300 a year. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of money. Yep. It can be, right? Give me $300. I'll make you coffee every day. Anyway. What's your thing? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's even if that seems intimidating, you don't have to have your entire budget down to the penny day one. You just need to have a good idea of what's coming in and how much you're saving, and then you can pretty much figure out the rest.
Yeah.
So even if you sit down, you go through your credit card statements, your bank statements, and you total everything up, and you do it for 6 months. You might still be missing stuff that didn't occur in that 6-month period. Just random stuff, stuff at your house breaking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's another thing. We'll probably get to that. But this segues into the next one really, really nice. Eliminate bad debt.
Yep.
Right. If we can build a budget, we can start paying down debt if it exists. And that's essentially credit cards are the worst, right? They're 20 to 35% interest, depending on what's going on. Car loans are not fun. Home equity lines, right? So go down the line, your house, your mortgage may be gone but it's probably a low interest rate.
Right.
Right. And here's the thing. It's I feel like you're always going to have expenses in retirement. And I have this example with cars. Bad debt, good debt, whatever it might be. I don't know if a car is good debt or bad debt. Paying for cash. I mean, if you can get 0% or 1% financing, like finance the damn thing.
Yeah.
I've had discussions about leasing because, it's going to be a constant payment. But if you buy a car, kind of the same thing because you got to then after the 3 years, you're paying for wear and tear,
right.
Tires, brakes. Well, I can go on and on, right? So any ideas on that, D?
Yeah, it's it really kind of, like you said, ties back into the overall budget, and kind of this thought that you can't have any debt if you want to retire. That's not necessarily true. You just have to have a handle on where your money's going. So, if you still have a mortgage at 62 and you're thinking of retiring early, that is not going to prevent you from doing it. But if you have $30,000 of credit card debt and your budget is misaligned from number one because you're actually spending more than you're bringing in and you're charging it on a charge card, those things are going to be very, very bad for your financial plan and might prevent you from retiring when you want to.
Right.
So you have to have a handle on your budget. And you have to have a handle on the bad debt for sure.
And then again, it goes back to number one. But number three is now maxing out your tax advantage accounts.
Yep.
If you're not doing that by your mid-50s, you really need to start considering it. Mm-hmm. Okay, Tony, where's the money come from? Well, let's get back to the budget.
Exactly.
Right? And there's so many new rules this year because of the one big beautiful bill. If you're, again, this is so weird, man. If you're between 60 and 63, you can save nearly an additional, what is it? $33,750. Like your catch up goes from $7,500 to $11,250.
Yep.
For I think the next couple of years, it might be a temporary fix, but it's available right now. And if you make over 145 grand, that money needs to go to a Roth. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be these gains, but like this is your time. Essentially, I can talk about numbers and all that. This is your time to expedite, hyper save.
Yep,
it's that simple. Is that one's just very straightforward. What are your thoughts?
Yep, I wrote down save more, spend less, don't be a psycho. So
that's not the American way, Derek. It's not. We love to spend money.
Yep. So I meant being a psycho on not spending money, actually. Oh. So this goes back to an episode a few weeks back where people save and then they don't spend what they can actually afford to do. If you, again, it goes back to number one. If you have a good handle on your budget, we're not saying don't spend any money, right? You can still enjoy things as long as you are not racking up debt. And if you're saving at a proper rate, you don't have to be a crazy person when it comes to saving, especially, in your mid 50s, you probably got, older kids or probably, want to do a bunch of things with them, all that good stuff. You don't have to be a psycho. Just have a plan, right? You just understand what you're spending, how much you need to save to get there, and the rest you can enjoy yourself.
Yep. Another thing is now we're talking about saving. Now it translates into rethink your investment mix, yep. Right? You're in your mid 50s. When you were in your 30s and 40s, it's like full guns a-blazing. And in this market, that's still maybe not a bad idea. Some people will always just be aggressive because, the last 30 years of their life, they've made an extraordinary amount of money. Mm-hmm. So, like, most investors don't want to get conservative.
Right.
But building a plan is going to help you understand, do you really need to take the risk? Because the thing that'll kill your retirement account is you're done working, you're done saving, and you're spending. And then the market goes down. And now you have to sell securities at a depreciated value and you lock in your loss. That is what cripples a retirement plan.
Yep.
So being prepared and having the appropriate amount of risk. Maybe 100% equities is fine for you. You can get away with it. Maybe you can't. So again, understanding what you're comfortable with and what your plan's talking about. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, the behavioral finance mistakes, we talk about them all the time. If you're doing 1, 2, and 3 like we talked about, you got your budget down. You're not racking up debt. You're saving into your accounts. You're doing everything right. You don't want to make huge behavioral finance mistakes to set that back, right? And especially if you're 55 or younger, you're probably saving the bulk of your money into your 401k plan. There's no reason to get crazy on the changing of investments inside of your plan. You need to set your risk level to something that's appropriate for you and your plan. And there doesn't need to be a lot of tinkering. The more tinkering that goes on in there, I would say that the more mistakes that you can make. So make sure your investment mix lines up with your strategy inside your financial plan. And because it needs to, right? For some people, something might be ultra conservative, and for other people, it might be more aggressive. It just depends on your situation. So make sure you're avoiding those behavioral finance mistakes, because I hate to see people do those first 3 things that we talked about correctly, and then mess it up with emotional investment choices.
Right. All right, and then number 5, the last one for this episode, is maybe create a second act of income. And what I mean by that is, the old saying, like, create a side hustle. Maybe you got time for this, maybe you don't.
Yep.
Right? But an additional income stream can maybe pay down debt, create an additional, saving stream, right? Mm-hmm. Create a saving bucket. So, and again, this could be consulting on something that you're, good at or passionate about, real estate. If you like coaching, right? Mm-hmm. I know some people like to coach, young athletes, things like that. Maybe that pays, a little wage, but again, you got to sacrifice the time to do it. But again, you only have a finite amount of time to work, because when you're retired, maybe working on, when you're retired, things like that, maybe you can't turn the switch off, but there will be a time where you just can't make money anymore. Mm-hmm. So make the money while you can.
Yep, absolutely. And again, we're talking about ways to retire stress-free, maybe retire early. The easiest way to do that is to have some sort of side hustle. It's going to help you save more, right? It's going to help you feel better about your budget. So identifying that, even if it's $3,000-$4,000 a year, over a long period of time, that definitely helps.
Yeah, and maybe this opens a door for flexibility down the road. Maybe you found something that you love doing. You're making as much money as you were in a job that maybe you didn't like. I mean, there's a lot of things to think about with that additional side hustle.
Yep, for sure.
So that's it for this episode. Because here's the truth, man. There's a lot of things that we can do that can, I guess, get us to the finish line without disrupting our life. But it's going to take some commitment. And honestly, it kind of starts from the ground up. And that's like, how much money do you spend?
Right.
Because everything else can be calculated, right? But it's like figuring out what your budget is so important. So with that, we're going to, have episode number 2 take us next week. So take us home, Derek.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for listening, guys. We will finish the second 5 next week. But if you guys have questions, ideas for shows, hit us up at info@swpconnect.com, and we'll talk to you next week.
The opinions expressed in the podcast are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any investment, legal, financial, or tax strategy. It is only intended to provide education about the financial industry. Please consult a qualified professional about your individual needs.